Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. So it's certainly been interesting the last 24 hours ever since I uncovered the mass selling from F2POOL. Now everyone is starting to notice, everyone is starting to catch on, and everyone is starting to ask questions, the right questions. And that was the whole point of my video, is to start those discussions, start asking the right questions, and figure out what is going on. But unfortunately, we don't have all the pieces yet. But in this video, I'm going to show, first of all, how F2POOL responded, but also I'm going to reveal something else. I'm going to try to connect the dots, and I think it's going to get us one step closer to the honest truth. So as time continues, I'm going to start digging more and more, and hopefully we can finally get to the bottom of this, whether or not this is legit selling or this is mass price suppression and manipulation that's going on behind the scenes. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I stream every day, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and a lot at night and over the weekend too. All right, let's get started. Let's do this. Let me change my screen here. All right, so even this morning, Bitcoin, since last night, ever since I started streaming this morning, Bitcoin has been doing pretty good. And this morning, it even broke above 34.5 again. And guess what? Then the sell pressure started to come in and started to come in. And guess what? Bitcoin came down a full 1,000 points from this morning. Right? Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is perfectly fine. Let's not forget that Bitcoin is still above $30,000, but I hate to see that this is artificially being suppressed right now, because if there was no price suppression, Bitcoin could be at $50,000 plus already, right? So that's what really irritates me, that we have this artificial ceiling because of one entity, one party, one mining pool that just continues on to manipulate the market. All right, so you can see that a lot of big red candlesticks out of nowhere. The volume starts ramping up in terms of sells, and we know who it's from. It's from F2POOL. Now, looking at this, unfortunately, in terms of the hash rate, their hash rate actually went up from yesterday. F2POOL is the largest mining pool. They have the largest hash rate, I believe. We don't know the exact hash rate of mining farms from said Bitmain and others, but in terms of publicly viewable hash rate, F2POOL is the largest. And yesterday it was like 15.5%. They went up to 16%. So they are ramping up, and hopefully, maybe we could do something about this, because the more they ramp up, the more Bitcoins they're going to have at their disposal. Now, so this is what I discovered yesterday. So I was looking at this on CryptoQuant, and you could clearly see that the selling that started from basically January 14th and on has been massive, massive. We're talking about over 10,000 Bitcoins being sold per day to drive Bitcoin down. Yes, 10,000 or 14,000 being sold massively at the same time is going to cause an effect. And I gotta move my, let me move my camera so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. There we go. All right, so massive selling. And what really stands out is when the Elon effect came in and pushed Bitcoin up to $38,000, that's when they decided to sell even more to bring things down. So that's pretty obvious to me. If it was pretty consistent and there was just a lot of selling, that's fine. But the fact that they chose to sell even more on a day when Bitcoin pumped up to 38,000 kind of shows you that they are, in a way, trying to suppress price to make sure that it doesn't climb back up to $40,000. I mean, that is pretty obvious to me. All right. So it goes beyond this though. And some people asked, oh, what were they selling before? You could see what they were selling before, just a few hundred per day. And that's, if you look at all the other mining pools out there, that's pretty consistent. They sell 200, 300, 400 a day. They don't sell 10,000 Bitcoins or 14,000 Bitcoins per day, right? Now, some people started chiming in after I posted my video. You know, I don't know where people saw, but people were saying that F2POOL was claiming that somehow CryptoQuant got their addresses confused with Mt. Gox, and they were trying to blame Mt. Gox for the ones that are selling this and not them. I actually didn't see that. I don't know where it was posted, but many people chimed in saying F2POOL tried to pretend like, you know, oh, no, this is not us selling. This is Mt. Gox selling. Well, you know, CryptoQuant also tracks Mt. Gox, and a lot of other sites also track the reserves in Mt. Gox that's set to be distributed, but still the settlement, you know, the whole thing is still being decided upon. There's still a lot of things. So they have not moved any Bitcoin at all, right? So this whole theory about, oh, you know, our address got confused, that's BS. That's complete BS. Nothing. See, this is Mt. Gox to exchange flow 0, and this is the total amount that's in that reserve. It has not dropped at all. So this whole notion that, yeah, you know, our address got confused by CryptoQuant because, you know, we did some work for Mt. Gox or something like that, that's BS. That's not the case. So first of all, that's a big fat lie. But here's the thing. Let me show you. Okay, so next, let me show you the response from the co-founder and I believe the CEO of F2POOL. So this was pinned before January 22nd. This was the tweet that I showed yesterday in my video, right? And I'm glad to hear and see a lot of people start chiming in saying, you lied, you did sell Bitcoin, why don't you fess up to it? So now, you know what, the co-founder and CEO is very boastful about it. He has no remorse, and he's just basically making fun of people that is now outraged, making fun of people that is actually losing money from the Bitcoin, right? And people that are really mad about possible manipulation. So his first tweet is this, and this tweet is basically him scrolling through the outrage, the people like you and I, you know, people that have made comments like, why are you guys selling? Well, his response was basically, I just sold $4 billion worth of Bitcoin in exchange for a one-way ticket to Mars. And then he was basically laughing that people's intelligence haven't fully been developed. And, you know, this was a response to the people that chimed in, and also a response to Elon Musk, because Elon Musk did have like an open session yesterday, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But overall, he's not taking this very seriously. He doesn't really care what people think. And that's a head scratcher. I mean, he's not even denying it anymore, not even trying to hide it anymore. And he follows up that saying, okay, as Elon just said, it would take 5 years to sell all of my Bitcoin. Stay alert. I don't know what was said, if people asked Elon if he was concerned about selling, or maybe F2POOL was selling. I don't know where this came from. But then he followed up by saying this: we have mined over 1 million Bitcoins in the past decade, the last 10 years. What we have sold in the past few weeks only represents 10% of our reserves. This is a response to his comment to Elon Musk saying it would take 5 years to sell all of his Bitcoins. So I don't get the point of this. Basically, what he's trying to portray is, you know, screw you guys, F you guys. I don't care. I'm going to sell, and I have so much more to sell, so you better watch out. You better pay attention, or you better bow down to me. I mean, it's almost to that effect to me, right? Like someone that's just really egging the community on, turning against them. And I don't know the reason why he would want to do this. They are a Bitcoin miner and mining pool. They offer services for Bitcoin. Obviously, they're involved with Bitcoin. So why would you want to do this? It just doesn't make any sense, right? So I think that's the outrage right now, that the founder is so boastful about massive dumping onto the market. And I think we all should be outraged. Now, a lot of people I've been seeing in the comments are chiming in and saying this: Well, it's their Bitcoin. They can sell it. They can sell however many they want. It's their money, right? It's a free market. Yes, that is true. Just like you and I, if we made money on Bitcoin or crypto, it's our right to sell it. But here's the fundamental difference that people are not getting. It's because they can actually affect the market with their sells. By selling 14,000 Bitcoins in a day, you know that that's going to drive things lower. And when you have the power to do so, right, you're able to make up for that. You're able to manipulate the market and you're able to profit off of that manipulation, right? That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the difference between you and I or any other miner out there. If you're an ETH miner and you collected a certain amount of ETH and you sell it, great. You know what you sell is not going to affect the market. But when they're selling, they are. And you know what? You can play it both ways then, right? You can manipulate the market by, let's say, buying short futures, short options, which is available. These options, these kind of derivatives was not available before 2017, right? So before, miners or anyone with a large amount of Bitcoins couldn't do this. They could sell and try to cause mass panic, but they take a risk because if people keep buying it up, they can't buy cheaper Bitcoins. But in this case, you could see how this is a problem because someone like F2POOL or Chung or anyone else can open up a massive short position on Bitcoin with futures or with options, dump, okay, $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, cause it to go down, and make billions back from those short positions with their futures and options. And guess what? Now they could use that money to buy back Bitcoin at a cheaper price, and they actually gain Bitcoin by doing so. And because of their ability to do this, they could do this forever. That's also the problem. Right now, there is enough people that's absorbing the sells. That is why Bitcoin is great and it holds above $30,000. But if they continue to do this as time goes on, nonstop, where they are basically suppressing Bitcoin's price, keeping it within a certain level, and never allowing it to grow, and keep selling and buying shorts and selling, buying shorts, you could see how that would basically suppress Bitcoin forever, and it would eventually lead to probably more sellers than buyers, right? That's the dangerous thing about this situation, right? Now, here's what I'm going to show you guys. This is the next thing I want to show you guys. Some evidence, but I can't connect the dots. That's why I said at the beginning, we need to work together and try to figure this out and try to connect the pieces and find out what exactly is going on. So I decided on CryptoQuant, I started to look at Bitcoin futures. They don't have options listed yet, but they have all the major exchanges with their futures listed and open interest. It doesn't break up whether or not the open interest is short or long, but I wanted to see if I can find some kind of correlation, right? Okay, let's look at this first one. This is futures open interest on OKX, which actually they have a good amount of volume, right? So the black line is Bitcoin's price and the orange line is the futures. So you could see as Bitcoin went up, futures didn't really move. OKX was still, relatively stable. I mean, there's some up and downs, but overall you could see that the interest did not skyrocket or did not really uncorrelate with Bitcoin's price, right? So more or less, it seems like that's pretty normal. That's actually pretty normal. So moving on, let's look at Binance futures. Same thing. Maybe with the exception of this, but this was actually more like, it looks like a lot of people got liquidated, but more or less, the futures, the interest in futures more or less correlated with Bitcoin's price. Didn't really deviate at all. And then what about BitMEX? BitMEX interest is really low. Ever since Hayes and his buddies are running from authorities, BitMEX pretty much stopped their shenanigans, right? At least they tried as much as they can, which is why their futures is really low at this point. A lot of people have moved away, right? What about Bybit? Bybit, same thing. A lot of people turn to Bybit. A lot of people promote them. But you could see that the futures interest more or less just like the other exchanges. And lastly, Huobi futures, kind of the same way, right? They correlate and you don't really see any deviation until this last one. So this is what I'm talking about. So look at Deerbit. Deerbit, it has futures, and they are also options provider. Unfortunately, I can't see any options. Do you see how all the other ones I've showed you guys, there was basically an exact correlation. Let me zoom in here a little bit. There was basically exact correlation with up and downs, right? With the exception of this. Do you see how open interest went up while Bitcoin's price went down? This is what I'm talking about. This is clearly that someone knew, or many people knew, that a drop was coming. So what do you want to do? You want to load up on shorts, short futures. So if this comes, then you're going to profit. So all the other ones I've showed you guys from OKX, right? When that drop happened, volume dropped. This drop happened, volume dropped. Right? All these exchanges, there was nothing like that where you had a deviation where the interest went up while the price went down. So this to me is what is being done and what I'm afraid of, right? So when you're in a position where you can cause this to happen with your cells, most of us are not. Most companies in the world are not. Maybe Michael Saylor did it. He could have that effect. But even he doesn't have as much Bitcoins as F2POOL. But this is what I'm afraid of. When you have the ability to drop the market like this and you open up a ton of shorts, you can make billions off of this, then buy back Bitcoin at this price, and you can rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. I think this shows you exactly what happened with some of these drops, right? So that's what I want to show you guys. This is real. This is happening. The data is in front of us. It's just that unfortunately no one was really paying attention to this kind of data before. Now, I can't prove that this was actually F2POOL, but you know what? It takes someone that actually knows how to move the market to be able to pull off something like this. So again, more evidence, and hopefully we as a community gather together and actually put a stop to this if it is true. Now, this is still hearsay, speculation, right? But when you're connecting the dots, it's just like a jury, right? When it's there's too much coincidence, even though you can't prove it, it's most likely that party is guilty, right? So again, this is why I'm concerned. It's not because F2POOL is selling just for the sake of selling. They can do whatever they want with their Bitcoin, right? But the concern is that they're selling and playing the other side, and then they can manipulate the market and suppress the price and basically do this forever. That's my concern. So hopefully, again, going forward, I think a lot of coverage is happening around this. Hopefully we can get to the bottom of it. And hopefully the founder, Chung, takes this seriously, right? Takes this more seriously rather than make a comment about how I sold $4 billion with Bitcoin, hopefully to buy one-way ticket to Mars. Hopefully that kind of tweet stops, because right now it's pretty clear that he does not care, right? So, so that's my investigation. Now, hopefully we get to the bottom of it, but in the meantime, there's a lot of things going on, right? So does this mean it's the death or end of Bitcoin? No. You know, let's not forget that Bitcoin is still holding above $33,000. That in itself is pretty huge. And I've seen some people comment about this. The fact that they are still selling so much and Bitcoin is still holding is damn terrific, because that means there are a lot of buying going on. So it could be that institutions are buying, just not more than what, F2POOL is selling, but still they're buying, which is why Bitcoin is still holding. And then if you imagine that once the F2POOL selling stops, how much Bitcoin is going to rally, right? So that is very, very positive indeed. And also Elon Musk, during that last night, stream or whatever he had, says that he's a supporter of Bitcoin and thinks that it will get broad acceptance in finance. And I think we all know this already. We already see this, right? Some of the most wealthiest and smartest people of Wall Street, they've all come and said that they're buying Bitcoin because they do see the value in it. They're afraid of inflation. They're basically declaring it's a better form of gold, right? So it is already happening. But Elon Musk says that he's a supporter. And he didn't come out and say it. According to this, he had to be careful in terms of saying certain things because he knows he could drive markets, right? But ultimately, I think I've been saying all along that he's going to come along. He's going to come along and declare that he's buying Bitcoin, and Tesla's going to be buying Bitcoin. So this will be absolutely huge. If Tesla declares they're buying Bitcoin, their cash reserves, just like MicroStrategy, I mean, literally every single company out there would be considering it, because if Tesla's doing it, they're going to be doing it, right? So that is also very, very bullish, very positive. And I've been hyping this up, Bitcoin for corporations, right? The ones that have been sitting on the sidelines, they're going to get the royal treatment from Michael Saylor, right? Michael Saylor is giving the entire playbook, everything that he's done in the past in terms of accumulating vast amounts of Bitcoin. So this is also coming this week. Yes, this week. So I think this is also pretty big. Afterwards, I think we're going to hear about more public trade companies that will be buying Bitcoin, right? And all this could definitely offset and drive Bitcoin much higher, despite the fact there is a lot of selling from F2POOL, right? So these are very, very positive events that is coming. Now, lastly, I want to address this, and I warned you guys, for those of you guys that tuned in yesterday and even before, but I was very specific about this XRP pump last night during my Q&A. People asked me about the XRP pump, right? Whether or not they should get in, whether or not I was in, whether or not people should buy in. And I said no, because it makes no sense. When you have organizers set a specific date of when a pump is going to occur, right? You want to stay away, because what they're doing is they're basically getting everyone to FOMO in. All the people that are new to the space, they're going to FOMO in. They're like, oh, well, if a pump is going to start at this date, well, it's going to go up, so I better buy some now. So because of that formation, you had almost 200,000 members join in on that pump group. It did cause XRP to skyrocket. And guess what happened, right? The organizers of this decided to dump. And that was clearly the case. That was clearly the case. They wanted everyone else to FOMO in, and then they would dump their bags right on top of them. Right now, XRP is in a free fall, right? So I warned you guys about this. This was buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event, right? And this happens, unfortunately, all the time. I don't know how they got so much people to get interested into this XRP pump, right? I guess this kind of shows you what's going on right now. A lot of newcomers in the space. But I warn you guys, don't fall for this. There are pump groups, no doubt, that are successful in pumping things up, right? We see it all the time with altcoins, all the time. But when you have a large coordinated pump like this is not WSB movement, okay? They clearly state this is a pump movement, and they declare a date, and that group has gotten so big, it's not a secret. You got to wonder why they would do that, right? It's because they are planning on dumping. So unfortunately that happened, and hopefully you guys didn't fall for that. All right, that's pretty much it. Bitcoin unfortunately kind of reset itself yesterday after my stream. It seemed like it was coming right back up. 34.5 rejected, most likely due to more selling. Now it's starting to come up, and let's see what happens with Bitcoin this week, right? All right, let me turn to you guys for some Q&A. Yeah, GBTUX, I think you have the right, I think you're in the right direction, right? Just because they mined over 1 million Bitcoins the last decade did not mean they stored all of it. And let's keep in mind, they are a mining pool, right? So they have clients. So first of all, they sold a lot of that million Bitcoin. And second of all, the clients also took away a lot of the Bitcoins. But, this is what's concerning, that whatever they sold, which is billions, is only 10% of their reserves. I don't know. I mean, it could be true, but this could also just be, like a show, like F you guys, right? If you come after me, I'm going to dump more. It's kind of like almost like a threat in a way, right? But again, I just don't get it. He's a Bitcoiner, right? He contributes to Bitcoin in the community. Why would you want to give a big FU to everyone? Maybe because he didn't like being discovered. He didn't like that the attention is on F2POOL, right? But we need to gather together and figure out what exactly is going on. And hopefully shenanigans like this, where you open up a large short futures contract, hopefully that stops when you know that Bitcoin is going down, right? This is the type of manipulation that we need to stop. What can we do to get out of this problem? I think mass attention is what we need to do right now, right? Get everyone involved, and even possibly get the exchanges involved, right? I don't know. I don't believe that they're selling on the exchanges, but I think they're selling on the OTC market. But you know what? Get everyone involved. Get the community to get together, right? Kind of like WSB. I mean, WSB, if nothing else, is that you have a group of people that is really dedicated at something, believe in something, and they cause it to happen. It's the same situation as like right now, right? You get everyone involved, everyone talking about it, everyone paying attention, putting more scrutiny on them. Eventually they would cave, right? No matter how big they are, how many Bitcoins they are, there's more of us than them, right? Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. So we need to apply the pressure. We need to figure out. We need to connect the dots and put a stop to any shenanigans if there are any shenanigans, right? That's how we're going to do it. That's how we're going to win. I mean, if they had 1 million Bitcoins at their disposal and they dumped all million at simultaneously on all exchanges, they probably could dump Bitcoin down to 10,000. But it would recover back really, really fast. So in that case, I don't think that'll happen. The chart is this one. And you know what? This is a daily chart. So I'm going to change to hourly chart and then zoom in here. So you could see that for the last day or so, right, they have still been selling and have increased at certain junctions. So let me zoom in even more, right? So, I mean, you could see that recently Bitcoin hit that 34, right? 34.5 right here. And guess what? You have a very, very large sell. 800 Bitcoins, right? That kind of started driving things down. When Bitcoin hit 33.5, it seems to have stabilized. Well, boom, more sells. 650, right? So you remember when I covered Bitcoin and looked at the charts and the volume, I'm like, I don't know where some of this volume is coming from, right? All of a sudden you have a big red candlestick and Bitcoin can't keep a certain level and drops more. Now we know. It's like they're almost timing it to a T. When they study when Bitcoin is getting strength, they dump more and cause it to come back down. So, I mean, that's why, to me, it seems like it's clear that they are timing it and they're trying to keep Bitcoin within a certain range. I don't know the reason behind that, right? But, yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear from the data. Bodhi, why... For his super chat, if everything is suggesting a higher price, why wouldn't F2P just sell at a higher price? Why are they selling right now? Because they can make money right now, and it's guaranteed money. That's the reason why. because they could buy short futures, they could drive the price down, and they're guaranteed to make billions and buy back even more Bitcoins. And they could do this infinitely. So, basically they could do this forever and make billions and gather more Bitcoins at the same time. It's a win-win situation for them. If this is true. But looking at this on Deribit's futures, this kind of shows you. I looked at every single exchange out there that is offering futures, and there was no deviation in terms of the futures interest and Bitcoin's price. Everyone more or less followed. Every single one. Okay? Except you have one that clearly shows that someone knew that Bitcoin's price was going to drop. You could see from this point, open interest has started rising. I'm betting that most of that is short interest because they knew that this was going to happen. This is how they could potentially profit from dropping Bitcoin. And they could do this rinse and repeat, nonstop if this is true. That's why this is very concerning at this point. Can MicroStrategy or Grayscale do the same thing? No, because they're publicly traded companies, so they're being audited and they're being watched and scrutinized. This is the exact thing that the SEC is supposed to stop. So many people do not like the SEC, right? Don't want regulations, but this is why the SEC was created, to stop manipulation like this, because Wall Street could do the same thing. They could do this nonstop all the time. But it's because the SEC enforces rules to prevent them from happening. And I'm not saying the SEC should look into this. I think we could solve this on our own. That's where, investigation, attention, bring this to light to basically everyone, causing some scrutiny. I think that will put a stop to it. Dirty DJ, thank you for that. Yeah, I think, I think that's pretty clear what's going on right now. Marshawn, that's the thing, right? Wall Street Bets, how they're winning is by utilizing the collective power to go against the short sellers, right? So if this is the case, and I think Elon did have a big effect, he just didn't know about it. When Bitcoin shot up to 38,000 recently, it caused $500 million worth of shorts being liquidated, right? Now, that is the reason why I believe that that F2POOL probably got pissed off, because they probably lost a lot because of the sudden jump in price. It was clear that, yeah, they had to do something about it, which is why I think they increased the amount of Bitcoins that they had to sell, or they did sell afterwards, right? So yes, if you have a collective group of people, and I'm just talking about Bitcoiners, it doesn't matter if it's retail investors, or Elon himself, or public trade companies backed by guys like Michael Saylor. If we all come in and buy and just destroy this, it can happen, and it can destroy them once and for all, right? One wrong short bet can literally destroy you. So, you know what? We'll get through this. We'll get through this regardless. And I was saying that yesterday. It's not like we're so fragile that we're being we're being held down by one party. We're not. It's just that not enough people know what's going on. That's why we need to get the word out. If people knew what was going on, we could stand up against it. We could research it, investigate it, and stand against what is going on, right? But right now, it's the information spreading and gathering, and we need to connect all the dots. Yeah, I think people still don't realize that, because some people are still asking the question, what's wrong with selling? Anyone could sell. Yeah, you are. Anyone is able to sell their own Bitcoin. That is fine. It's the manipulation, the price suppression concerns, right? Because just because you sell, your friend sells, your parent sells, whoever sells, they're not going to be able to affect the market. But imagine if you can. Imagine if you own enough Bitcoin where if you sold a certain amount, that it would drive the market down. What would you do with that power, right? That's the thing. Power corrupts. The more power you have, the more corruptible you tend to become. Not to say that everyone is corrupt, but think about it. When you have that much power, it's really hard not to use it, right? And it just seems like in this case, they may be using that power for their advantage and the disadvantage of everyone else, right? All right, guys. I'll let you guys go. So this is a continuation from my video yesterday. Obviously, I uncovered who it is, F2POOL. They are the biggest seller right now by far, I believe. And they're causing effect on Bitcoin's price. And you know what? Hopefully I explain further in detail, because I think still some people are confused by why that is a bad thing, that's a wrong thing. It's more the concerns of what they could be doing with that power, right? The manipulation, the price suppression. They could be profiting off of derivatives like shorts and options, right? Like futures and options, and shorting both. That kind of stuff didn't exist years ago, but it exists now, and there's plenty of it, right? So that is the concern, and that's why I think we need to uncover this once and for all, and hopefully get Chung to realize that what he's doing, if it is true, we realize it, right? We're not gonna go away. We need to stand together and kind of defeat this common enemy, so to speak, right? So hopefully, I'll discover more evidence or more things I can show you guys as time goes on. But I think this is the biggest news right now by far, right? But it is still very, very promising that Elon is getting involved with Bitcoin. We got Bitcoin for corporations, so there are bigger things coming than just this, but still, nevertheless, it's something that I think we need to investigate more and resolve. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and stay tuned for my future videos and streams. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.